to Sugar Coated. I'm your host, Adrienne Garland, the CEO and founder of She Leads Media. For far too long, women have been conditioned to sugarcoat their words, their actions, and the way they show up in the world, and to conform to certain cultural norms and ideals. This is inherently designed to keep those who are outside of the norm from gaining power, prestige, wealth, and influence, preventing more women from being recognized and respected as the powerful leaders that we truly are. Join me each week as we dive into raw conversations with remarkable, uncompromising, and inspirational women that will encourage you to strip away your sugarcoating and move boldly in the direction of your magnificent dreams. Hi, everybody. My name is Adrienne Garland, and welcome to Sugar Coated, a podcast where we talk about all things related to women, entrepreneurship, and leadership without any sugarcoating. I am so very excited to welcome my guest today. Her name is Bobbie Carlton, and she is an incredible person who advocates for women through her company, Innovation Women. She, like many other women, also does many other things, which we will talk about over the course of our conversation. But I am thrilled to welcome Bobbie because she is standing at the forefront of really helping women to get their voices, thoughts, and opinions out into the world. Welcome to Sugar Coated, Bobbie.
Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. So you and I met several years ago. You attended a She Leads conference. I was so thrilled that you came down from Boston to do so. I am a huge fan of yours, a big admirer. I'm also a speaker on the Innovation Women platform. But I would love for you to tell the sugar-coated audience a little bit about, who you are, how Innovation Women came to be, and a little bit about your public relations firm and anything else you'd like to talk about.
Okay. So I usually tell people that I have 3 jobs. I have the day job, which is Carlton PR Marketing, which is how I actually make a living. The night job, which for many years has been Mass Innovation Nights, which is a monthly new product showcase event in the Boston market. Obviously, right now with the pandemic, not a lot of live events, but we are doing some virtual events. And Innovation Nights is a social media powered event where we tell people come to our events and help spread the word about all these cool products that you see using your social networks. And because of that, I got invited to lots of other people events. So that led to the 3rd job, or the dream job, which is helping more women get on stage at conferences and events, because I would get invited to so many different events, and I would see what I call the all male, all pale, and often all stale panels, because it was the same people over and over again on stage. And women would be sitting in the audience going, how do I get myself up there? And I'm like, oh, I know how to do that. And then most recently, I added on jobs kind of number 4 and 5. I bought 2 other companies over the summer.
Incredible.
So, yeah, because, retail therapy.
Yeah, right.
And so one of them is another service for speakers. It's called My Speaker Leads. And it delivers 100 leads every single week for speaking opportunities. We have a research team that goes off and looks for opportunities for speakers, and we send them out to our customers every Monday morning. And then that acquisition led to a 5th company, which is called Lioness for the Female Entrepreneur. It's a digital magazine.
Love it.
So I keep myself busy.
Yes. Well, this is a classic question, but you also have a family. How literally do you do all of that?
Well, it's not just me. It's a team. I have a fabulous team who help out with all of my crazy projects, including one person who for several years, it was her job to tell me no whenever I started looking off to the side and going, hey, that looks cool. But I actually had a person who was like, no, don't do that. And, this summer she's been off taking care of her kids. So I got set loose on the marketplace.
And this is why you bought the two companies, because she took a little sidestep and you said, oh, yeah, freedom.
I was like, Kristen, you weren't watching me.
I love
Guess
it.
what I did? I did have to have that conversation with her, which is like, so while you were gone.
Oh, my goodness.
I did a
great.
thing.
I did two things.
I did two things.
Oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
how did you start? I want to actually even go back further. How did you get into PR and why did you start Carlton PR? Had you worked in corporate? Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So way long ago and far away, I was a journalist. And so I started working for the town newspaper, and I worked for radio stations in the news department. And, those PR people, they always seemed to know what was going on. And I had a fabulous class in college, great professor who said, you are really good at telling a story and, maybe thinking about PR instead of the media. And I moved to Boston after college. I got a job in an agency. After the agency, I ended up heading up global PR at Cognos, Parametric Technology Corporation. I did some more agency work. And then I started working for a startup. And the startup ran out of money in 2008. A lot of companies ran out of money then.
Yep.
No jobs, 2 kids and a husband who definitely, like to eat with a roof over their heads, that kind of thing.
Just the little something.
little something, and so I kind of buckled down, started my own agency at that point. I mean, really, it was just hung out a shingle. It was just me at first. But if you think back to 2008 and 2009, social media was young.
Yeah.
And, as a storyteller and as a PR person, I was like, this is interesting to say the least. What can we do with social media? And a lot of people, I think, dismissed it as something the kids were doing.
Yep.
And I said, well, that's actually something you can use to sidestep the traditional media and become your own publisher. So I started Innovation Nights in 2009, taking advantage of what was happening with social media and started growing things from there. And, obviously looking back on my expertise and what I did, it was all the same kind of storytelling and communication, a lot of writing and research, and all these things kind of came together. And so, first company, second company, and then 5 years later, third company.
Wow. I love that story. And I mean, it took a lot of guts no matter what. It was 2008 and there was the recession. So to venture out on your own like that after having worked at some of these really big companies, that takes a lot of guts. How did you know that, or did you know that you would be successful and that you'd still be doing the company that you started, you'd still be running the company and growing and scaling, 11 years later? 12 years later?
I don't think I actually did have that confidence. I had never before thought about going out on my own. It was a stopgap measure, until the day when jobs came back and I could find another job. And one thing leads to another, and all of a sudden, you own a company and then there are employees. And I was like, wait, how did this happen?
Yeah.
At the time, 2008, I didn't feel like I had a choice. There really weren't the jobs for me at that time. And so, I didn't have any choice in the matter, and certainly not going to be letting the family starve.
Right. So that's a good motivator.
Off we go. Yeah, it absolutely is.
Well, it's funny. Obviously, conditions are completely different right now as we're talking, but it's very much the same where many of the jobs that may have been out there even, 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago, they're no longer there, or people are finding themselves in a situation where they, need to do something. And I think that now it's even harder because the market is so very uncertain. And I'm just kind of throwing this out there, but do you have any advice for some women out there that they're contending with not only, feeding their family, but also homeschooling their kids while they're trying to earn a living and bring some, money into the household? I look at that and if I was in that situation, I quite frankly don't know what I would do.
Yeah. And I think that right now it's a very different situation than it was 12 years ago. I think certain segments have been harder hit than others. I mean, hospitality and restaurants. I mean, travel.
Events.
Events. Although, wow, are we lucky or what with the environment that we are working and living in these days? I mean, to have these tools that allow us to go virtual.
Yeah.
Even I think just a couple of years ago, this situation would have been almost untenable.
Agreed.
And now it's like, I don't know about you, but I got all the streaming services I want.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in my home office with my fabulous big fat pipe that the internet comes to my house in.
Yep.
A few years ago, we cut the cord from cable and decided to pour all that money into bandwidth.
Yep.
And Zoom and, great tools. My whole team works on Microsoft Teams, Office 365. We have a morning meeting where we're all on video and we share files. We packed up our entire office in March and went home without a second thought.
Right.
Literally, one random Thursday, we're at home.
And you knew that you had all of the tools in place in order to make your business continue without missing
Absolutely.
a beat. That's amazing.
I think, we left behind our office, which was heartbreaking because I swear we had just gotten the last whiteboard on the wall, the last picture, it was great. We were like, I love our little office. And then to walk away and not go back, we gave up the office in July. We had a notice on it that said, give 60 days notice. And so we did. And so now we are officeless.
Wow.
All of us are at home.
Yeah, this is a new chapter for you for sure. Do you see yourself ever going back? Because the technology is incredible. I agree with you.
But
the
there's
human
real
interaction.
value.
Yeah.
There is real value at this. I mean, I'm somebody who's run live events every month for the last 11 years.
Whoa.
I have 2 businesses that are dependent on supplying speakers for events. And, at the same time that so many events were canceled, postponed, a lot of other ones went virtual. And we're seeing organizations and companies that previously did live events turning on a dime and saying, okay, it's all virtual now. And how do you bring the value for a virtual event where somebody may have been paying thousands of dollars for a ticket to go to a live event? Can you deliver the value for them that makes it relevant and worth it to spend that kind of money on a virtual event?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny. I just started teaching a graduate level class at NYU School of Hospitality. in event management. So the students are looking to start businesses in the event management field. I'm teaching entrepreneurship and business plan development.
Wow.
Yeah, which is crazy. And, when I thought about how am I going to sort of shift around what I was originally going to, teach in person and about events, I thought, a lot of these tools that in the past were add-on services have now become center stage, right?
Yes.
So how do you leverage that technology and reimagine what an online event really is? And one of our mutual friends, Bill Sell, really brought up a topic to me that I'm being very conscious about saying, and that is online, right? So virtual events are, perhaps not quote unquote live or not that they're not real, but what he said to me is what we must do as event professionals is call these live because they're just online as opposed to in person.
Right.
And I think that even using terminology like that starts to get at value. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm being exceptionally conscientious of calling things live and online so that as the industry, sort of transforms throughout whatever this is and whatever it's going to be, that we're not just, slapping some stuff on Zoom, but we're really being creative and reimagining and figuring out how we can engage participants and deliver value to, sponsors and vendors and all of it. So yeah, I think we're on the same page with that. I was wondering for Mass Innovation Nights, was that something that is sort of diverse as far as gender, or did you see a lot of male versus female people who are pitching? Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. It's interesting. When I started Innovation Nights, there were other startup showcase events that I had seen, and they were most often focused on technology and technology products. And, I said when I started a startup showcase, the tools and the products would be diverse to start off with, because I think that a lot of women think about startups only with the technology in mind. They say, okay, it's a startup. Well, I'm not focused on technology, or that's not of value to me. And so I'm going to start another business, another type of business. And women are told over and over again that it is super hard for us to get funded. That only 2.5% of venture capital goes to women-founded companies. And 80% of startups that get funded have no women on their senior management team. So we keep hearing this message about funding and high growth startups and technology companies that I think turns many women off. Being a startup founder is hard. Why make it harder on yourself? So women, I think sometimes will turn to other types of companies, and they will turn to the type of company that they can fund themselves, that they can bootstrap, that they can get a bank loan. It's hard to capitalize something when it's zeros and ones. It's easier to capitalize perhaps a retail establishment or some type of business that you don't need a lot of funding for.
Right.
So I think there are different types of startups that women are more likely to start. That doesn't say that it's all of them. I've seen plenty of women in super high-tech stuff that you might not think of them first for. And so Innovation Nights from the beginning looked at all types of new products. Everything from somebody's new sauce to physical products, to robotics, medical devices, technology, enterprise software, apps, showing the gamut of new products helped us get more diversity in gender and overall diversity. And we did a survey of our alumni when we reached 100 events. So every month we're launching between 10 and 15 new products. And when we reached 100 events, that's 1,000 new products that we helped to launch. And at that time, 44% of the companies were founded by women.
That's close to parity.
That was close to parity. But when you start digging into that, what you see is we had done several events that were food, new food products. We had done several events that were focused on physical products. So we were very open about, what startups and what new products we were helping to support. And I think that broader approach absolutely helped us. But there were still events where, I would say, okay, this is, the theme for this one is robotics or AI. And I would look around the room and realize that, we don't have a lot of women founders at this event or that event. We did a number of events where we were in partnership with a local neighborhood of Boston that is mostly people of color. And so we did a couple of events there where it was all African American and African founders. And those specific events helped us in terms of creating more diversity. But it's a thing that when I started Innovation Women, I was concerned about. Was I creating a new island?
Right.
Was I creating a new way to segregate people? I was hoping not. I was hoping to give these underrepresented groups, whether it's women or persons of color, more opportunities to see themselves amongst a group of people that they identified with. But, it was absolutely an area of concern for me. Before I started Innovation Women, before I started really focusing on that, I will tell you, I had never before gone to an event that was all women. Now I go to a lot of them. I went to your event,
Right.
for example. And, it was one of those things where I was like, I've never really paid attention to this.
Interesting.
And, when it starts to kind of sink in, you start looking around and you start examining what your own experiences have been. And my own experiences where I had worked in high tech for many years. I was very used to being often the only woman in the room. And yet I worked in an area, public relations, that is what's called a pink collar ghetto.
I don't think I've ever heard that before.
What that means is because there are so many women in the field, salaries are often lower than other commensurate industries. For example, if you compare the salaries in public relations and in advertising, you'll see that advertising often has very much higher salaries because there are more men in it. And so
at the higher level, I would say too,
absolutely.
That's a whole other thing we can talk about. But at those higher ranks, it's it's male pale and stale.
Yes, indeed. So it's something that I looked at and I'm very aware of. At the same time, always do more. I can always do more.
I totally love, and I'm so happy that you explained that a little bit more, because I did have the perception, I don't live in Massachusetts, or else I would have certainly come to Mass Innovation Nights. Although now that it's online, actually, that's just a really quick question. Because it's now online, are people outside of the Massachusetts area, are they able to participate or how? Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And we just did an event a couple weeks ago that we did online. It was in partnership with UMass Lowell's Research Institute. And the companies that we were focusing on are what's called dual usage, which means they can be used by things like the Department of Defense and other government groups, as well as the technology is useful in other places in the general world.
Right.
And so, looking around that group, all right, big percentage are men.
Yeah.
I was happy to see a couple of groups that, were women-founded groups in the artificial intelligence arena in particular.
Yeah, I've seen, I did a little work before the pandemic with a company, an events company that focused on logistics and supply chain, and AI was the hugest topic. But I was very happy to be able to find many women that are in the artificial intelligence arena. I feel like that is a technology that women are not as intimidated for some reason to get involved with, which is a great thing. I'm wondering, for Mass Innovation Nights, do you find that women are even, just by the very nature of what it is, right? Getting up there, putting yourself out there, pitching your company, because people get funding, correct?
Some of them.
Some of them.
Not all of them are seeking funding. Mass Innovation Nights is very focused on being a visibility driver. We talk about it as a visibility event. And, what we've done is created tools and systems and processes for helping to promote local companies. There's a weekly newsletter that goes out. There is a social media amplification program. There is, when we did live events, we would hand out a program with QR codes, making it super easy for people to scan the QR code and instantly come up with a tweet. Everything was designed, including the online voting. If you go to Mass Innovation Nights, you'll see any of the events had voting online. And the companies that got the most votes were able to do 5-minute presentations, whereas everybody else got tabletop demos. And the voting meant that all of the companies would be promoting it out to their networks. So, hey, go vote for me. I have a chance to present at this event. And I found it fascinating. Most people would say, okay, that's a competition. I'm like, This is rewarding people who are helping the collective group. Yeah. This is co-opetition because my best friend might not necessarily be my perfect customer, but they could potentially be a customer for one of the other companies that's launching. Right. So when I tell my friend, go vote for me, my friend goes to this website, sees a whole list of cool new products. Yeah, I'm your friend. I'm going to vote for you. But, look at that. That potentially over there, that other product on the list could potentially solve a problem I have, or that could be a fit for something I know. So the more you're sharing this collective group with your friends, with your networks, with your coworkers, the more we're helping each other find out about these new products and connect them with potential customers, with potential partners. So, it's really just throwing our individual networks onto the table and saying, here, let us work together to benefit us all.
I am in awe. I love this concept the more and more that I learn about it. And I love the fact that there's the local component to it as well. That's something that I feel like is a big shift. We went completely global, right? You could get anything at any time from anywhere. And so these big, big companies sort of had the advantage there. But because supply chains have been disrupted, along with everything else, there really is, and also, a lot of these small businesses are completely struggling with the whole pandemic. So the fact that there's a platform to make local people, friends, family network, aware of these local companies is just absolutely brilliant. And I have to say that I don't think that I have heard of any other type of organization that is doing something like this that's not just solely focused on technology. So you've got a very unique and incredible platform here.
It's interesting. When I started Innovation Nights, social media was young and people were like, oh my God, this is fascinating. Like people would come from all over the place to Boston because Boston is such a mecca for innovation and technology and startups. Yep. And people would come to Innovation Nights literally from all over the world. Wow. And they would be like, oh, I want you to do this in my city.
Yeah.
And I would be like, you can do this in your city because I am not going to have that credibility. I can't parachute into your city and do this. I can do this here. People know me. People understand me. And the people are like, okay, Bobbie, what crazy thing are you doing today? But I can't do that anywhere else. So it needs to have somebody in that city. I mean, I would love to have Innovation Nights, events in many cities and then tie them all together so that, when we're promoting something in Boston, maybe somebody in San Francisco would see it. So if we can create that network of Innovation Nights all over the world, yes, we can help that. But it really does come down to the support that you get from your friends, from your neighbors, from the people around you in your location who say, when that company right there on Main Street wins, we all win.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that's going on right now. We are all looking to our local restaurants, our local small businesses and saying, how can we support them? Because they are our neighbors and our friends and our family.
I just absolutely love that. You're creating so much value for so many people on both ends. And I think that everything that you're doing is providing a platform for these businesses to gain visibility. And it just ties so beautifully into, what you do as a PR professional. You're all about getting visibility for your clients, right?
And Innovation Women, the same thing.
Exactly.
Speaking engagements, they drive credibility, they drive thought leadership, they drive visibility that connects you with customers and partners. In Lioness Magazine, that's again about visibility for these companies and these new products and these startups. So, if people are like, oh, what's your, kind of umbrella organization? I'm like, it's not so much an organization as it is a thought process around visibility equaling opportunity and business and career opportunity.
I love that. And that is so aligned with what the mission of She Leads Media is as well. It's all about providing a platform and opportunity along with, tools and resources and expertise for women so that they can get their businesses, their ideas, their thoughts out into the world. And everything that you're doing is just, I just want to jump on it all. And I, in fact, am, a registered speaker on the Innovation Women platform. It's also, you make it really easy for women who want to speak and put themselves out there. You make it really easy for them to do so. Can you talk a little bit about what Innovation Women and the whole platform is all about? I mean, I know that you spoke about how you're matching women experts with opportunities, but can you just talk a little bit if somebody was interested in signing up as a speaker on the platform, what do they sort of get as far as value?
Sure. So when I first started Innovation Women, I was really focused on Boston because Mass Innovation Nights kind of gave me a head start here. And one of the things that Mass Innovation Nights does in its weekly newsletter is it promotes the other events that you go to in Boston. So, this mailing list goes out every week and we have a little list of these are the events that are happening this week. So all the local event managers send me their stuff and I have a list of them all. So I'm like, this is the place I'm going to start with Innovation Women. And I did a crowdfunding campaign and almost instantly it went beyond Boston. I'm like, oh shoot, that's gonna screw with my business model a little bit, because before I had this nice head start with the event managers in Boston. So I had to take it from the other side, and we started looking for calls for speakers and contacts with event managers and reaching out to them and saying, hey, we've got this resource for you. So Innovation Women is a platform. Event managers can come in for free and they can search the database and they can connect directly with a speaker. This is not like a traditional speakers bureau. Number one, a traditional speakers bureau will only manage people who get paid to speak.
Right.
And I hate to say it, but half of all event managers have no budget for speakers. So a speakers bureau isn't going to work for them.
Right.
So when we started Innovation Women, I was committing to supporting women who speak, who get paid to speak, but also women who are expert sources, who are leaders in their field, who are sharing their knowledge. And there's all kinds of opportunities out there for them that I think a lot of them just don't pay attention to. These conferences, these events, before the pandemic, there were 500,000 meetups that happened every month.
Yeah.
Like crazy. So many opportunities to speak that women just don't take advantage of.
Why do you think that is? Because I think that's what's important too, right? So women, and this is such a general sweeping statement, but I do find what you're saying to be true. There's something that holds women back, and it's probably perfectionism, but what do you think?
So I have a completely different theory. Women, so there's some things that we don't take advantage of because we're busy.
Okay.
We are more likely to be working for smaller companies.
Mm-hmm.
We are more likely to be working part-time, and we are still more likely to be responsible for kids and home.
Yeah.
Okay. This is more likely. These are well-known Labor Department statistics. Mm-hmm. Okay. When you are working for a smaller company, that smaller company probably does not have anybody to backfill for you.
Right.
You can't just take off for 3 days and go to a conference. By the way, that also costs money.
Yeah.
You got plane tickets and airfare and hotels and just being out of the office for 2 or 3 days. That's hard.
Yeah.
And it's also hard to be out of the office when maybe you only work 2 or 3 days a week. You're fitting a lot in that part-time job. And on top of it, it's really hard to be the keynote at breakfast if you've got to get little Johnny on the bus at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of reasons that I think women bypass these opportunities. They're juggling a lot already. And, this is just one more thing that they've got to do. But, there's also when you are the person, right? You become the one. Like, oh, in Boston, there used to be these 5 women entrepreneurs. It's like I can probably name them.
Yeah.
Bettina, Jules, Gail, Cheryl. I mean, they were the female entrepreneurs. And anytime you had a panel on entrepreneurs, people would look at it and go, oh God, we got 4 guys again. Let's call Diane.
Right.
Because everybody knows Diane. And you know what? Diane gets busy because everybody knows Diane. Everybody calls Diane and she starts turning things down. And in the event manager's head, that gets translated to women turn down opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got like all of these things that conspire against us. And so I've talked to event managers and I've heard this stat from so many event managers. They tell me half of the women they invite say no and 90% of the men say yes.
Really?
I'm like, why do you think that is?
Yeah.
Well, they're shy and retiring. Bullshit. I'm so sorry.
No, that's good.
Like, no, that is not the case. You've probably asked the same woman that everybody else is asking because she's the name that you know.
Right.
And she's busy.
Oh.
No, I can't do it on that day because I'm doing this other thing, or I've already spoken 8 times this month. I don't have time for this.
Right.
And so, I talk all the time to event managers who say the same thing. I started with a panel that was 2 men and 2 women, and the women said no and the men said yes. And so, I have an all male panel.
By default.
Like,
So your platform says, listen, event managers, those women are amazing, but have I got more amazing women for you? Just take a look over here.
We literally have hundreds of women. We make it super easy to connect with them.
Yes.
You can go in, you can search by location, you can search by title, you can search by topic, you can search by industry.
Yep.
You can connect directly with them. And you're going right to them. You don't have to go through me. If you're paying them, I don't take a portion of it. The traditional speakers bureau can take 20, 30, 40% of that speaker fee.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, I've used, speakers bureaus for some other companies that I've done work with. And, there's a lot of also just positioning and negotiation, and they don't even want you speaking to the speaker, because what I've found oftentimes is when you speak to the speaker directly, they're much more willing to take a lower fee or, even do it for free because they see that there's value in getting in front of an audience. But the Speakers Bureau sort of blocks that from happening, which I understand. It's their business model.
Right. That's how they're working. But I think traditional speakers bureaus are very different and have a different purpose. Half of all event managers have no budget whatsoever for speakers.
Yeah.
42% are only paying some speakers.
Yeah. Wow.
And that means that they have some money for keynotes. Maybe they have some money for travel. So that means only 8% of event managers pay all or most of their speakers. Those are opportunities that are somewhat rarefied. It's like in certain industries, people are paying a lot for speakers. And there's a difference between speakers and presenters or expert sources.
Yes.
There are people whose business it is to be a speaker, and they are totally 100% worth every penny that you pay them.
Yes.
Because they are training, they are working on this, they are entertainers. They are celebrities.
100%. Yeah.
The best path to getting paid to speak is it's outer space. Be an astronaut.
Yes.
It's like you're going to be paying.
The president or the vice
There's
president.
that too. Politics, astronauts, celebrities. This is their business.
Yep.
But you know what? There's real value in entertaining, educational people that are taking the time to practice their craft. I work with a lot of speakers who they're doing a presentation or there's a lot of speakers, I hate to say it out there, who are what I call one Google search deep.
Right.
They're compiling a bunch of stuff. They're throwing it together. They're popping it up on the slide and they're going, I'm a speaker.
Right.
But there's also other people that are writing books, who are subject matter expertise, who have worked in their industries for 10, 20, 30 years, who are entertaining, who are doing the work to be a great speaker, to well communicate what they're doing. And they should absolutely be paid. They are making your event.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have personally benefited from using the Innovation Women platform, not only to get speaking engagements, but as the producer of the She Leads conference and some of the other things that I do consulting-wise on the side, I have found absolutely incredible experts on your platform. Women founders and CEOs that they might not be out there quoted in the media all the time, but they deliver such incredible value. And it's important for them to get out there and get in front of some of these more intimate and targeted type of audiences. And as a speaker, they benefit from that as well, because they get to connect on a level that they might not necessarily if they did this big keynote.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a difference between being an expert on stage and being a visionary,
right,
and being a thought leader.
Yes.
So, I think that people need to understand the difference between those things.
Yes. Yeah. And do you also offer any type of resources or training or just, informational webinars for people on the Innovation Women platform?
Yes. And we are continually adding more. And frankly, you don't even have to be a member of Innovation Women to go to our website and click on the speaker resources button. And we have webinars, and there are podcasts, and we have all kinds of articles and tutorials. So we're really very focused on kind of bringing up that level and giving people the opportunity to think about how they are presenting themselves and how they can do a better job in terms of doing that. And I spend a lot of time telling people about the benefits of public speaking, because when you are on stage, you are the expert. You have credibility like nobody else in that room does at that particular moment.
Agreed.
You are connecting with customers. You are able to tell your story.
Yep.
And, the more you can do to make yourself more entertaining, clearer,
succinct.
all of these things, succinct. Yes. Let's not go on and on. Right. The better off everybody is. And, a lot of the event managers today are telling us they want to see people who can do conversations virtually.
Yeah.
They say, not everybody who is a great live speaker is also a great virtual speaker. So we're doing things like we did a virtual summit.
Yep.
And we had about 50 Innovation Women speakers participate in that. And the goal was to give them experience doing a virtual event.
Wow.
And we also have a tool that we're using called Answer Stage. And Answer Stage sends our speakers a link. They respond back with answers to specific questions they're answering them on an app. And it stitches it all together and puts a nice template on it and a frame around it. And so you can see what a speaker looks like virtually.
That's amazing. I love that. Everything that you are doing, I'm just in such great admiration of. I really admire you, Bobbie, and this whole entire ecosystem and platform that you're creating, because you are helping small businesses. You're helping people in general to just launch their businesses. You're helping people to get visibility. And you're specifically helping women by giving them all of these tools, resources, education, opportunity. And I'm a huge fan of yours. So,
well, back at you, because, this podcast, the platform that you're offering, she leads. So ditto.
Yeah. And I can't wait to just keep doing things together. I'm an Innovation Women ambassador in New York. And I tell everybody all the time, sign up. It's super inexpensive and delivers incredible value. And I really feel like I could literally go on and on with you as we do.
We do, yes.
Chit chat. But I think that this is a perfect place to end. So I know you've mentioned it a couple of times, but why don't you just let people know where they can sign up for the Innovation Women platform to become speakers and just even understand Mass Innovation Nights, and if they need your PR services too. Well, hey, why not?
Yeah, I always tell people it's like, I'm super easy to find, just Google me, Bobbie Carlton, Bobbie, and I appear like magic, But innovationwomen.com, carltonprmarketing.com, innovationnights.com, and now lionessmagazine.com.
Love it.
Woo-hoo.
Love it. Love it.
Oh, and my speakerleads.com.
Oh, yes,
too.
my speaker. Yes, that is something that I definitely have to check out. And again, like we spoke about the other day, not a ton of investment, but huge value.
Yeah. And I think a lot of this is designed to help people help themselves.
Yeah. Well, Bobbie, thank you so much. And just thank you for your friendship over all of these years and just your partnership and everything. I'm, again, a huge fan of yours. I admire everything that you do. And I just love being in network and in company with you. So thank you so much.
And thanks for having me today.
Okay. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.